What about Tulsi Gabbard? She was a Democratic presidential candidate. She's left the Democratic Party, denouncing the organisation as an elitist cabal. She said, "I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that is now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness who divide us by racialising every issue and stoke anti-white racism." Peggy, I think you've had lunch with her, have you?
Well, I was at a dinner with her recently, and she is strong, confident, and fabulous. And she's managed to do something that we don't see very often, which is have agreement that what she did, the left and the right agree that they're both glad she did what she did. The left has seen her as a thorn in their side for far too long, and they're happy to have her out. And the right has seen her as somebody who finally came to her senses and is a person of common sense. You know, I think she would probably subscribe to what Ronald Reagan said, which is, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. And
right.
if you'll recall, we had lunch in LA, I think about 2019, and you said, who are the Dems going to put up to run? And I said, well, if they were smart, they would put up somebody like Tulsi Gabbard. And I said, but they're not smart, so they won't do that. They'll probably kick her out. And that has proven to be true all these years later.
She's criticised President Biden for, quote, pouring fuel on the flames of division in the country. Peggy, has her criticism gained any coverage from the predominantly left-wing media?
Well, nobody's talking about it except for to criticize her. And if they were smart, rather than criticizing her, they would listen to the criticisms that she has had of her party and do some self-reflection. But they're certainly not going to do that. Anybody who disagrees is going to be thrown out, silenced, canceled. And Tulsi Gabbard is better off without the Democratic Party. And they certainly are not in a better place now that she's left.
And now the former House Speaker, Newt Gingrich, praised Tulsi Gabbard, who I might add is a very distinguished American, a United States Army Reserve officer. She represented Hawaii in the Congress, the first Hindu member of Congress, and the first Samoan American voting member of Congress. She's 49. Gingrich argued she was one of many Americans who traditionally voted blue and now find the Democrats unrecognizable. Peggy?
Well, she has a bright future ahead of her, and she's everything that the Democrats say that they value. But certainly by the criticism that we've seen of her by her own party, it's value in name only. They certainly don't value somebody who is a hero, a patriot, and strong and successful like Tulsi Gabbard. So she's got a bright future ahead. It won't be with the Democrat Party.
And just before we go, look, I may not get time for this, but I want to raise with you next week the Californian Governor Newsom has signed this California Assembly Bill. I've only been talking about this week. California Assembly Bill 2098, making it the first state in America to attempt to censor what physicians can say about COVID-19 to their patients. We'll go to this in some detail next week, Peggy, but is this constitutional?
It's absolutely not. Free speech is protected by the First Amendment. And not only is this putting a blockade between patients and their doctors, but more importantly, it's putting a block between patients and the truth. And if we went on consensus, science would never evolve. Science is continually changing as we find additional facts. And so it shouldn't ever be based on consensus. And thank goodness we didn't stick with the first round of the COVID thinking that we had. Things have continued to evolve, and California is on the wrong side of everything. We have the highest taxes, the highest gas prices. We have the lowest learning in our schools. And Gavin Newsom actually rolled out a plan a week or so ago to compost corpses. So there's nothing about California that we should be following. The other states should be very nervous if California passes this, but it is not constitutional and it should not be allowed.
Good on you.